El expresidente Joe Biden se ganó una ovación de pie al romper su silencio y dar un excelente discurso en Chicago, durante la gala de la Asociación Nacional de Abogados, donde rindió homenaje a prisioneros legales afroamericanos. El expresidente Joe Biden dijo: "Sostenemos que estas verdades son evidentes por sí mismas". Miren el clip, por favor.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal and deserve to be treated equally throughout their lives. Our Constitution has helped ensure that while we never fully lived up to that, we've never walked away from it either.
Y ahora aquí viene un gran momento del discurso de Joe Biden. Mírenlo, por favor.
I promised to have an administration that looked like America and appoint a bench that looked like America. And I kept my promise. I appointed the most demographically diverse slate of judges ever.
Ahora, disculpen la molestia, pero quiero que vean este discurso completo porque de verdad les va a poner la piel de gallina. Quiero que lo vean porque realmente compárenlo con Donald Trump. Sientan la diferencia entre un líder y un hombre que simplemente improvisa como lo es Trump. También se puede ver la diferencia entre un hombre que ama a Estados Unidos y uno que lo ve como un simple negocio. Miren, por favor.
Folks, Brown versus Board of Education was fundamentally a case about who we are as a nation. We're the only country in the world founded on an idea. Every other country is based on geography, religion, ethnicity, but we're based on an idea. A sacred proposition rooted in Scripture and enshrined in our Declaration of Independence, carved into our hearts. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal and deserve to be treated equally throughout their lives. Our Constitution has helped ensure that while we never fully lived up to that, we've never walked away from it either. Our Constitution guarantees a set of basic rights to every single American and sets up institutions to safeguard those rights. Next year, we'll celebrate 250 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence. But all that soaring rhetoric are just words on pages if we, the people, don't uphold them. The lawyers and judges, all of you in this room, are the first and the last line of defense doing just that. I mean it. An informed and engaged bar willing to fight for and take risks to protect our basic rights. A bench prepared to recognize those rights and rule consistent with the Constitution. Our courts are meant to be a valid check on the excesses of other branches of government, especially when Congress and our executive overreach and run afoul of our constitutional and institutional safeguards, as they are doing now. You know, we're here marking 100 years since the National Bar Association was founded to support black lawyers, men and women who were excluded from all professional organizations because of the color of their skin, which was flat out unadulterated racism. Much of it has changed since then, thanks to the work of the National Bar Association. And so many of you have fought to make this country live up to its highest ideals because you believe, like we do, in a simple truth, that the soul of the nation is worth fighting for. And the soul defines who we are. I believe that it is as true today as it was in 1925. But not since those tumultuous days in the 1960s has this fight been so existential to who we are as a nation, with marginalized groups so dramatically under attack. As a young man, long before I understood the civil rights movement in a political context, I understood it in a human context because of the friendships I made in the black community, being the only employee in the project, my home city of Wilmington, Delaware. I made friends who became like family. As I got older and more engaged, Every Sunday I'd go to 7:30 Mass in my own church, and then I'd go to 10 a.m. Mass at church service at the AME church across town. In time, I left for law school. When I came back to Wilmington to start my career working for a prestigious law firm. That was June of 1968. And as you all remember, Dr. King was assassinated on April 4th of that same year. Riots erupted in Wilmington, Delaware, my state which was segregated by law. Riots erupted, causing significant parts of our city to be literally burned to the ground. The governor kept Wilmington under National Guard occupation for 10 long months. The National Guard was on, and I mean this, if I remember, on every damn corner with drawn bayonet. On every city corner. And historically, it was the longest military operation of any U.S. city since the Civil War. Again, in my hometown, Wilmington, Delaware. When all this was happening, I didn't just see the hurt. I felt the pain because of my close friendships in the community. Like many of you in this room, it caused me to get even more involved in the fight of civil rights and basic democracy. So I decided to leave the prestigious law firm I'd been hired by. I walked across the town square to become a public defender. I quit my job. And I represented mostly black clients in the east side of Wilmington. In 1970, I was convinced to run for the county council because no Democrat had ever won that seat. Unfortunately, I won. My sister ran my campaign. And the Republicans saw something I didn't see. I was elected in 70 for a 4-year term, and they reapportioned me to a 2-year term. And since they couldn't find anybody to run for Senate, they asked me to. And I ran for the United States Senate in 72. And I championed legislation to protect civil rights and support marginalized communities. I was then proud to serve as vice president to our first black president, Barack Obama. And I was proud to ask Kamala Harris to run with me, be the first black woman to serve as vice president of the United States. It was important. As president, I made the cause of civil rights and equality the foundation of everything I did. For example, I promised to have an administration that looked like America and appoint a bench that looked like America. And I kept my promise. I appointed the most demographically diverse slate of judges ever in the history of the United States of America. On top of that list, one of the brightest lawyers I've ever met, Ketanji Brown Jackson, the first black woman on the United States Supreme Court. Justice Jackson, as you witnessed earlier this week, has proven herself to have the wisdom and the character that I saw in her when I nominated her. I appointed 13 black women to the courts of appeals of the United States federal courts. More than every other president in American history combined. And there are other historic firsts as well for Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, Muslim Americans. And by the way, I didn't just appoint Ivy League judges. I appointed many HBCU graduates. How many of you in this room went to the greatest HBCU in America? Delaware State, right? They got me started, man. Cedric keeps giving me the honor of being called a Morehouse man. I'm a Delaware State man. Look, my administration understood the importance of HBCUs. That's why, as president, I invested more money in HBCUs than all other presidents in American history combined. It matters. And I appointed a record number of judges with backgrounds and experience that have long been overlooked by the federal judiciary, like public defenders, lawyers representing labor unions and the rights of immigrants. And by the way, I was the first president to give the National Bar Association a seat at the table in proposing candidates to the federal bench. So a lot of the names came from you guys. I mean it. Oh, I'm serious. I needed you. I still need you. So thanks, everyone. No matter who these men and women were, or where they came from, I'm sure that all my appointments are committed to the rule of law and are highly qualified. Because I know then what I know now. Judges matter. Courts matter. The law matters. And the Constitution matters. I think a lot of Americans are starting to realize that under the pressure we're under now with this guy we have as president. Oh, get ready, folks. This is just starting. I'm proud I've appointed judges doing their best to be independent, fair, impartial, respecting the rule of law, and upholding the Constitution. I wish I could say the same for the executive branch, which seems doing its best to dismantle the Constitution. Oh, I'm being deadly earnest, man. Which seems to be what's going on. You know, and they're doing it all too often with the help of a Congress that's just sitting in the sidelines and enabled by the highest court in the nation. The rulings they've made. My God. Folks, in our lives, in the life of our nation, there are moments so stark that they divide all that came before from everything that followed. Moments that force us to confront hard truths about ourselves, our institutions, and democracy itself. We are, in my view, at such a moment in American history, reflected in every cruel executive outreach, every rollback of basic freedoms, every erosion of long-standing established precedent. We see in the law firms bowing to pressure, bending to bullies, instead of staying rooted in justice and the law, including some of the largest newspapers in America. We see in the apparent glee some of our politicians express. That's while watching immigrants who are in this country legally, torn from the arms of their family, dragged away in handcuffs from the only home they've ever known. My friends, we need to face the hard truth of this administration. It has been to ease all the gains we've made in my administration, to erase history rather than make it, to erase fairness, equality, to erase justice itself. And that's not hyperbole, that's a fact. Look, folks, we can't sugarcoat this. These are dark days, but you're all here for the same reason. I left that prestigious law firm in the public defender's office to go to the defender's office years ago. It's because our future is literally on the line. We must be unapologetic of fighting for the future. To paraphrase Frederick Douglass, there is no progress without struggle. And I would add, there is no progress without courage. None. The height of the civil rights movement, when Dr. King and Rosa Parks and John Lewis and other giants in our history needed a lawyer for their fight for freedom, they called on a guy named Fred Gray, who's here tonight. Fred, I don't know where you are, but stand up, man. Fred was one of the most important civil rights lawyers in our history. Fred's legal brilliance, desegregated schools, secured the right to vote for so many, I was honored to invite Fred to the White House and bestow on him the nation's highest honor, the President's Medal of Freedom. Folks, as a reminder that American history from its start has been a constant push and pull, it's a battle that's never over. As my late friend John Lewis used to say, democracy is a state, not an act. Let's remember that in America, the power belongs to the people. And the way to show that power is by voting. We need everybody to vote. We need everyone to count. So let's reach out to family and friends and neighbors. Let's help them register to vote. And let's remind them, without voting, nothing is possible. With voting, everything's possible. Folks, let me close with this. When President Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964, he said the following: "This is a proud triumph. Yet those who founded our country knew that freedom would be secure only if each generation fought to renew and embrace its meaning." It's literal. I taught con law for 10 years in law school. I'd always say that. Every generation has an obligation to defend it. But I never, even though I was a sitting senator at the time, believed we'd get to this point. So let me say directly to the young lawyers in this room, it's time for you to renew and enlarge this meaning. It's time for you to lead the fight. It is. As you close the chapter on the National Bar's first 100 years and chart a course for the next century, it's not enough to honor the heroes that came before us. We need new heroes now. No, we do. We need you to follow in their footsteps. When I was elected, I have the dubious distinction of being elected the youngest senator in American history and the oldest president in American history. It's hell turning 40 twice. Look, some of your potential candidates for office. And when I got elected as the youngest person, I got elected before I could be sworn in. Everybody, and I beat a really very popular guy. Nixon won my state with 60% of the vote. I won by a rousing 3,200 votes. And they'd say, "What's your secret?" What was the secret? There always had to be some secret. And I always told them the same thing, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Same thing. You got to know what's worth losing an election over. What are you willing to stand for? What are you willing to fight for? So let me tell you what that means. To all of you here tonight, those just starting out your careers, and those who've been fighting a good fight all your lives. It means take the client who can't write a big check, but needs protecting the basic fundamental rights. It means sign on to that brief that may draw the ire of people in power, but you know it's the right thing to do. It means standing firm against unconstitutional actions designed to intimidate you. It means write the article, give the speech, lead the protest, defend the ideas your country is founded on to protect our institutions, to fight for the soul of the nation. Summon the courage, like all those elders here before you did, the people in this room, to commit acts large and small, to bend the arc of the moral universe toward justice, as Dr. King would say. Needs a lot of bending, folks. There's been nothing in the course of our country's history that we haven't been able to accomplish. When we stood together, we set our minds to it. We're the only nation in the world with a significant student of history that has come out of every crisis we've got into stronger than we went in. We have to remember who the hell we are. We're the United States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity. We do it together. So God bless you all. And may God bless the United States of America. We've got a lot of work to do, folks. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
El expresidente Joe Biden realmente se ganó al público con este gran discurso. Y cómo no hacerlo, fue muy atinado, fue directo y lo dijo de una forma en la cual es muy fácil creerle. A diferencia de Donald Trump, el cual sabemos que siempre, pero siempre termina mintiendo. O diciendo cualquier cosa con el fin de salir él ganando algo. Pero bueno, disculpa que te haya mostrado un video tan largo, yo sé que puede ser aburrido, pero espero que lo hayas entendido, que lo hayas escuchado, porque es muy importante. Así que te voy a dar un consejo que doy en varios videos. Puedo sonar repetitivo, si ya escuchaste mis videos, si quieres hasta te lo puedes saltar. Pero si no lo has escuchado, de verdad, presta atención. Con todo este tema de las crisis económicas, el tema de la guerra, es muy probable que exista escasez, o sea que los productos ya no lleguen tan fácilmente a los supermercados. Cuando esto pasa, hay inflación y de por sí en Estados Unidos ya hay inflación. Así que va a haber sobreprecio del sobreprecio, porque cuando hay escasez hay necesidad y si hay necesidad los precios aumentan. Bueno, tenemos esto claro. Una recesión económica va de la mano con una economía débil. Cuando hay una economía débil, las empresas no tienen opción más que despedir, reducir salarios y obviamente no contratar. Así que digamos que tienes un trabajo normal, que ganas en Estados Unidos un promedio de $3.500. Tienes tres posibilidades, bueno 4. La cuarta es muy endeble. La primera es que te despidan y quedes en cero. La segunda es que por el mismo trabajo que estés haciendo te reduzcan el salario. La tercera, que es creo que la menos mala dentro de todas, es que te paguen lo mismo pero trabajes menos horas, por ende cobres menos pero por menos trabajo. Ok, esto es más entendible y de hecho esto lo haría una empresa que sea buena o muy grande y con dificultad para reducir salarios. Y la cuarta opción, que yo no la pondría, pero es que no te pasa absolutamente nada, esto sería raro. Pero bueno, en todos los aspectos pierdes dinero. ¿Y qué va a pasar? Si las cosas aumentan de precio y tú pierdes dinero, ¿qué crees? La vida es más difícil. Así que tienes que aprovechar ahora que tienes todos tus recursos, estás ganando, puedes ahorrar, guarda dinero. Guárdalo en el banco y guárdalo en efectivo. Porque también, de la mano, cuando hay guerra y cuando hay recesión, los bancos se dañan, los bancos dejan de funcionar, dejan de dar el dinero tuyo, no te limitan, mejor dicho, ya que el banco no tiene todo el dinero en efectivo y lo que hace simplemente es darte una cantidad no tan elevada. Porque por si tú no lo sabes, cada banco tiene un porcentaje mínimo de tener en efectivo en sus cuentas, o mejor dicho, en el banco. Por ejemplo, el banco puede tener 100.000 millones, pero creo que, si no me equivoco, en Estados Unidos la ley va por entre el 8 y el 11% que tienen que tener mínimo. Depende del banco y del estado. Pero digamos que sea el 10%. Si tienes 1.000 millones, el estado te pide un mínimo de 100 millones guardados, que es una cantidad inmensa que le sirve para moverse muy bien. Y el resto, los otros 900 millones, lo tienen préstamos, los tienen por a un lado, los tienen en otras cuentas que están invirtiendo, obviamente inversiones seguras, pero no lo tiene. Así que ¿qué pasa si todos los usuarios del banco van a retirar su dinero en efectivo porque necesitan dinero para poder sobrevivir? Y también el pánico, pues el banco se queda sin efectivo. Aquí lo que pasa es que el Estado puede salvar al banco y darle dinero del Estado, pero si un Estado está en guerra, ¿qué pasa? El banco quiebra. Los bancos por lo general tienen un tipo de seguro que cubre todo esto, pero te repito, una recesión económica, una guerra, impide que el Estado ayude. Así que mi mayor recomendación, y disculpa si lo alargué mucho, es ahorra. Guarda dinero porque pueden venirse cosas feas. Como siempre te digo, únicamente esto es una recomendación. Si no lo quieres seguir, no pasa nada. No quiere decir que no me respetes o que no. Tampoco hago valer mi título de economista como decir, hazme caso. Nada que ver. Simplemente es un consejo que te doy en agradecimiento por llegar al final de mis videos. Y también por el apoyo, porque ya casi somos 30.000 seguidores y créeme que eso me pone muy feliz. Como siempre digo, para mí lo más importante siempre va a ser tu opinión y me encantaría que la dejes en los comentarios. Está de más repetirlo, pero si te gusta el contenido de política estadounidense, te va a encantar suscribirte al canal, ya que hago videos absolutamente todos los días. Mi nombre es José Alvarado, soy economista y estoy comprometido a informarte diariamente. Nos vemos en el siguiente video. Adiós.